Hey guys, Luke here. Today I just want to quickly talk about possibly my first Grail knife that I was able to get my hands on, and basically what developed from there. As you can see, this is a video about a Mcusta knife, actually about two Mcustas. So let's just jump right into it instead of just looking at the box. Well, actually, we'll just talk about the box real quick. It's a very simple, classy wee box, cardboard, but it's just a classy, simple design. So let's just get these out of the way. And yes, there's three here, and I'll touch on that later. But let's just look at the knives. The first one here is the Mcusta Katana. This is a beautiful, elegant knife that is made in Japan by a Japanese company with Japanese materials, and it is a beautiful, high-quality knife. So I'll set that down there. And the second is the Mcusta Tsuchi. Basically, it's the exact same knife, just slightly different blade shape and slightly different design in the handle. But let's just get straight into it with the role that these knives will fill. Honestly, in my opinion, they're straight up everyday carry knives. They're not going to be something that you're going to put your life on. It's just for general everyday use for cardboard, packages, food prep, that type of thing. So honestly, it fills that sort of role, and that's for both of them. If you think though, because the katana is a tanto, that it'll not suit for everyday tasks, I'll be honest, you'd be wrong, because I've used this particular knife since the 25th of December. And the reason why I can be so precise about that is because this knife arrived on Boxing Day before Christmas. So I've had it coming up on 9 months now, and I've used it a lot. And this knife actually, if you can see, it's taken some wear here and there. It's been used, not abused, but it has taken it a few knocks, and I'll tell you one thing, it's held up very well. So that's the role of use of this knife. Personally, I feel that it is an everyday carry style of knife. And you might have different views on that, but that's my opinion. It's a knife that you can rely on, and that goes for the Tsuchi as well. Size and weight on this knife, on both of them, they are the exact same size. Both are a little over 7.5 inches overall, with a 3¼ inch blade and a 3-inch cutting surface. For me, that's a great size. The 3¼ inch range of knives gives me enough in the hand that I feel secure and I can get a good hold on the knife, and it gives me a beautiful size knife, in my opinion, for everyday tasks. Real quick note though, these are locking knives, so they are not legal for carry here in the UK. Just keep that in mind. I wouldn't want any of you thinking that it was okay to carry, because it really isn't. Especially keep in mind because it's a 3¼ inch blade. And the weight on this knife is 3.4 ounces, so it's a very lightweight knife. That's because it's a aluminium handle with a single steel liner and standoffs rather than a backspacer, and that goes for both of these knives. Very simple and elegant in its design, but yet keeping a very nice lightweight package for everyday use. Moving on a bit more to steel and blade shape. This is where there's some differences in this knife. The katana is a beautifully elegant tanto, again inspired by the katana, where its name comes from. It's got a VG10 core, and it's semi-clad steel. It's semi-clad VG10, so it's got semi steel up here on the flats and the exterior, with a core of VG10. So we've got a nice hard cutting edge and a somewhat softer exterior, just to give you more resilience. You probably have seen that on the likes of the Feltnevens, and that is a trend that they've been doing for a while now. On the Tsuchi, on the other hand, Similar again, we've got a VG10 core, but we've got nickel Damascus VG10. So we've got a beautiful Damascus blade here, and I must say it is very attractive. There you can see in the flats it's a somewhat polished look, so it is. And yes, it gives off the appearance of being a hammer forged blade, but it really isn't. I actually have two Tsachis, and they both have the exact same design quality on the knife itself. The grind pattern though is both very, very similar. It's a flat grind from a little more than 2/3 up, and it comes to a very thin edge. It's very, very nice. It slices beautifully, and it takes a fantastic edge. But I'll tell you one thing, out of the box, these knives are quite possibly some of the sharpest knives that I've personally ever had out of box. That even comes from me owning Microtechs. They're right up there with very high-end, expensive knives, and they do a very good finish on the cutting edge, so it holds the edge very well. Speed and deployment type is quite possibly the best I've had. It's actually my benchmark for speed because it comes out so fast. Deployment type is through the thumb studs, of course, and it is such a fast, extremely smooth deploying knife, and it just is simple to use. It works very well. And there, a nice close-up of the thumb studs. Steel thumb studs with somewhat fine texturing, but the design of the handle and the way you come down to it, you just get this portion of your thumb and dig it in, and it just bounces right out with a beautiful, I love the sound that it makes whenever it locks up, but very, very smooth, very fast. The Tsuchi is slightly, it's not just as smooth or as fast. Honestly, I believe that's because of the detent. This has got a much softer detent. If you look, whenever I pull it in, it doesn't really suck in to the blade into the handle. But with the Katana, if you can do this, it's not a very hard detent, but it's strong enough where it just adds that wee bit more of an ability just to get it out a wee bit faster. But again, the thumb studs are the exact same. They're just anodized in blue just to add a wee bit more of a design aspect to it. Both are running on nylon washers, but you don't really need a bearing knife, like a ball bearing pivot, to make a fast, everyday carry type knife. But they've just done a really good job to make a knife that it's rather simple down to the core of it, but it just works really, really well. Moving on to lockup and strength. These knives are liner lock knives. As you can see, there's the lockup from the Tsuchi. It locks up really well. Side to side play, there is none in this model, and neither is there any up and down. People complain a little maybe about liner locks, but this is a strong liner lock, steel variety, and there's no stick or nothing. It just simply moves over very cleanly. It's not an overly tough liner lock, but it's very, as in like tension wise, it doesn't take much to depress that lock bar. This is actually a hit that I'm going to give to the overall design of this knife, and that's because of the steel thumb studs acting as the blade stops. If you look where it meets, you can see that there is a lot of wear there, where the steel is made contact with the aluminium. We do have this steel liner which comes up onto the lock side of the knife, but it adds a lot of wear to it. Something that I found with Microtech lately, they've been introducing this sort of configuration where they've had a steel subframe maybe I could call it, that comes down and circles the whole pivot, but that means that the thumb studs doesn't hit the aluminium continuously, it hits the steel, which gives it a better lockup. Because I find that with this model especially, because I've actually used this one the most, there is a lot of side-to-side play, and I honestly feel it's because of the lockup against, with the stop pin, well, the thumb studs, which are the stop bar, against the aluminium handle. I've already touched on this, but the handle material is aluminium. It's forged and then machined very beautifully. There you can see, actually I'll just pick up the katana here because you'll see it better with the colour. It is contoured beautifully, so it flares out here at the sides, which makes it a bit more hand-filling. But with it being aluminium, be aware it does get, whenever it's cold outside, it gets cold. Whenever it's very hot, so it gets hot as well. But again, no tactility to either of them. This particular model does have jimping, but that's sort of touched on ergonomics, but I'll come back to that. The construction, it's all Torx screwed construction. There you can see the Torx. And then we're given a simple flathead screw for the pivot. Again, there's the rest of the Torx and flow. It's very open, so it's easy to clean out with compressed air or rinsing under a tap and airing it out. And that's for both the Tsuchi and the Katana, both pillared and Torx screws with a flathead screw there. Again, the ergos, beautifully, I'll just move that out of the way for now. In hand, it's very much a very comfortable knife, with it being tip down, the clip up here at the top of the knife. It actually is very comfortable in hand. You don't have the pocket clip interfering with this portion of your hand. It just relaxes in very well. No jimping on the katana, which makes it very slick. But again, it's just a general everyday type knife, or maybe even like a suit carry. So if you're going out in a nice suit, you'd carry this type of knife because it is a classy knife. This might be classed as more of a gentleman's folder for someone that would carry the likes of a 0560. Sorry, this is a 0561 on an everyday basis. A large, tough knife like that. You might look at this as more of a classy gentleman's folder. So the sort of tasks you'll be using this for really won't be the same type of heavy duty stuff. Sadly, the clip is not reversible. It's actually part of the liner, so you're stuck with right hand carry tip down, but it buries very deep. It's a very deep carry pocket clip. But I have found if you're wearing jeans that have thicker fabrics at the pockets, it might only carry about that deep. But if you're wearing regular jeans, it'll completely disappear. And the pocket clip itself is very strong, very, very well designed. Again, with some aesthetical qualities. But because it's a deep carry clip, you might think it might be hard to get out because you're pushing down on the clip as you withdraw the knife. But with this milled portion, and especially this bit here that provides access to the pivot, you basically pull up and your finger, the fatty bit of your finger, sort of digs in and pulls up. It catches it very well. So that could actually be found on the likes of a higher end custom and semi-custom knife like Olamic Cutlery, Olamic Tactical with their Wayfarer. It has a similar design on its pocket clip, but that's just a very good aspect to somewhat of a flawed design in some regards, with it being tipped down. Both the fact that you can't change it to left to right hand carry, also lefties might be somewhat discouraged from buying this knife. But if I move the katana out of the way, I'm carrying it. I'm going to use this in the left hand. It's very easy to manipulate. The only way that you might not like it that much is it in pocket, but I can't really see much of an issue there. But to withdraw it like so and just orientate it. Again, for it being a classy type knife, I can't see much of an issue there. Overall durability of both the katana and the Tsuchi, I feel will be very good for that lightweight, classy type everyday carry knife, that won't be subjected to a lot of heavy duty type tasks. If this is your primary knife and that's what you carry every day, with it not having any steel around the lock where the thumb studs meet the handle, that could present more of a problem as time moves on, but I'm not 100% sure in that, being honest. The lock, perfectly strong, really good. Handle, as you've seen, this is wore pretty well. It's had a lot of use, I will be honest, so take that however you want, but it's finished very well and it's lasted really good as well. Lockup, you know, it's had a wee bit, but I can't really see much of a problem there. But as you saw at the start of the video, I did have 3 boxes, and you're probably assuming that that's for these two and something else, and you'd be sort of right, because I actually loved the katanas so much, I got the different variations that I could. This one, the black and blue, really beautiful knife here. Slightly different finish on the blade. We got more of a satin finish here on the Sanmai steel. Now these have not been used, they haven't broke in yet. There you can see no wear there where the stop pins, well, the thumb studs meet the handles. So this one's still a little stiff, hasn't broken yet. But that's the black with the blue anodizing. And then I got 2 more of another katana in the blue and yellow, and another Tsuchi. The Tsuchi comes in a green handle and a purple, both of which are very nice, but just not my cup of tea personally. So I'll just move these out of the way here, just so I can show you some competitive options, in my opinion. The katana could be somewhat pricey, especially here in the UK, so in my opinion, if you are wanting something along this line of a knife but you really couldn't afford it, I would look into the CRKT Ripple. It adds that organic type appearance to the knife, with that somewhat oriental design. But it is, again, a very smooth, beautiful knife that works very well, but not for a great deal of money. Again, liner lock, but this one actually has a ball bearing pivot. So that's one option that you could have. Going on a wee bit higher end, the Benchmade 940. Any of the 940 series, whether it be the 940, 941, 940-1, which is the carbon fiber, and S90V. It's just a very nice knife as well. Slightly larger overall, but really not by much. But again, very nice knife. And another one, in my opinion, is the Kershaw Blur. This is, again, slightly larger, but again, in that sort of 3 1/4 inch realm, and for me, I really find it's a beautiful sort of size overall. 14C28N steel here, and C9 CR14 MOV, I believe, on the CRKT. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear some feedback from you as to what you think about these knives. Do you think it's worth it? The sort of money that they ask, especially here in the UK, for a VG10 knife. But anyway, thanks for watching. Be safe, God bless, and I'll see you later. Alright, bye bye.